After all, computers crash, people die, relationships fall apart. The best we can do is breathe and reboot.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make these really cute hamsters. These are the little sad hamsters, the ones that are like, this is me if you even care. They're so cute. They can be used as keychains, but they also can be used as bag charms. And make sure they have a friend. I made so many of these. I sell them at my markets on the weekends. They're very easy to make for beginners. So try and follow along, and if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll be sure to answer them. So let's get into the materials you'll need to make these. Starting off with the yarn, I like to use Michael's yarn. In my opinion, it's the best yarn. It's really fluffy and easy to work with. I like to use gray for the hamsters, but you can also use white or brown. You'll need some pink yarn for the bow, or whichever color you would like to use your bow. You'll need a little bit of pink for the nose as well, and then you'll need some of these bug eyes. I believe these are 14 millimeter, could be 12. I'll leave it in the comments just to be sure. Everything will be linked in the description. You're also going to need a 4.25 crochet hook. If you use a bigger hook, just remember it's going to make the project a little bit bigger. I think this is the perfect size. It also keeps the tension really tight so you can't see any of the stuffing. You'll also need some stuffing. You'll need some of these keychain parts. I got these from Amazon. You can also find them at Walmart, but they're just not as good as these ones from Amazon. You'll also need a yarn needle. I think that's it, so let's get into the tutorial. Starting this tutorial with a magic ring. So you'll make an X with the yarn if you're a very new beginner. This is how you do a magic ring. Slip your hook under the first string and then pull the back one up. I'm doing this in slow motion, that way if it's hard to explain with words, you can visually understand. Also, I'll link a video on how to do a magic ring if that's something you're having trouble with. Then you're going to put 4 single crochets into the magic ring, and that's going to be your first row. This is also going to be the very tip of the nose of your hamster. So then you're going to pull your ring closed as tight as possible, and you're going to find your first stitch. So if you need help, just count backwards. And once you find the first stitch, you're going to slip stitch into the first stitch, and then you're going to chain 1 to start your next row. Go into the very first stitch with 2 double crochets, and you're going to repeat this around the entire round, finishing with 8 double crochets. And then slip stitch into the first single crochet to finish round 2. Make sure to keep your ring pulled kind of tight so that there is not a new hole. You're going to chain 1 to start round 3 and go into your first single crochet with 1 single crochet. Into the next stitch, you will do 2 single crochets. And you are going to just repeat that pattern of 1 single crochet and then in the next 2 single crochets around the entire round. I'm thinking about making a blog where I can have all my patterns written for you guys. Sometimes I don't even like watching videos, I just like going off of written patterns, but I know if you're a beginner, sometimes videos work better. So what do you think? Should I make a blog for my written patterns? Let me know. So once you finish that round, you're going to slip stitch into your first stitch. Pretty easy so far. Now we're on to round 4. So you're going to chain 1 to start your new round, and then you're going to repeat the exact same thing we did in the last row. 1 single crochet. In the next stitch, you're going to do 2 single crochets. In the next stitch, you'll do 1 single crochet, and then in the next 2 single crochets. And just repeat that till you get to the end of the round. If you guys decide to make these hamsters and sell them, please tag me or give me credit for the pattern. I would love to get some new followers and people on my page. I'm trying to grow my YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. So, would love for you to share my pattern. If you're doing any of those in-person markets, that would be super cool too. Also, tag me in the photos because I'd really love to see them. Okay, so once we're finished with that round, you can always count backwards to make sure you're on the right path. And then you're going to slip stitch into the first stitch, like always. And then we're going to chain one. So now that we're on our fifth row, this is where we are going to do the little feet. So you're going to do one single crochet in the first stitch, and then in the next stitch, you're going to slip stitch and chain four. This is going to make the feet in the front. Once you chain four in the same exact stitch that you slip stitched into, you'll do another slip stitch. Then continue the rest of the round with single crochets till you get to the very last stitch. Now that we have come to our very last stitch, we're going to slip stitch into the last stitch and chain four. This is going to be the other foot, and then you're going to slip stitch into the same exact stitch. Since this is the last stitch of your row, you're going to slip stitch right after that into the first single crochet of this round, and that'll complete your fifth round. Now you're going to chain one and start your sixth round. So you'll do one single crochet, and then you're going to have to kind of stretch this out to see where your next single crochet is, but it should be right next to that foot. So you'll have two single crochets, and then what you're going to want to do is flip that foot towards you so that way it'll kind of stick out, and then you can see your next stitch. And with this one, you're going to do a single crochet, and you're going to want to make sure your tension is really good at this point so that you can kind of close up that hole and let the foot stick out like that. I prefer to do this method rather than sewing on the feet because I just don't really like sewing. For the rest of this round, you're going to do single crochets. Forgot to mention that. But yes, I find that this is way easier than having a bunch of little pieces to sew on. I find it kind of annoying to do that at the very end. And with this project, you'll have so many loose ends if you have to sew about like 6 pieces. And I think when you do it this way, it's just so much easier and there's less to sew on at the very end. Okay, so once you get back up to this foot again, just like I said, remember kind of stretch it out so you can see where your stitches are. You're going to single crochet right next to that foot, push it down, and remember how that one was the last stitch of your last round? So with this one, you are going to just slip stitch into your first round, and remember to keep your tension pretty tight right here. And that's going to finish that round. At this point, I put my eyeballs in, so make sure to pull your hook up so it kind of has a little loop so that way none of your work gets undone. But you're going to count back to your third row, so you're going to place your eyes in between your third and fourth row. And what I like to do is make my little hamster flat to where the feet are right in the middle so I know where to put my eyes, and just make sure they're like right underneath so that it's centered and not like a little lopsided face. And place your eyes however you would like. I kind of like to make them look like they have a little bit more of a beady eye so it kind of matches the photo well. You can also make them a little bit further apart to make them look just as cute, but I kind of like the way it looks whenever they're a little bit closer together. I think it just matches the picture better. And remember to snap your closures on so that your eyeballs won't fall off. You can also totally sew on some eyes if you don't have these little eyeballs. You can just make a little circle and sew it on, or maybe even use some felt whatever you have. If you have some beads you could use. Alright, for your next round you're going to chain 1 and do a single crochet all the way around into every single stitch. And you're going to repeat this for this round and the next one. And then I'll come back once we are on the back feet. Okay, now we're starting the row where we do our back feet, and I believe this is row 9. So as you can see, I'm right under that little hand right there. So with this next round, all I'm doing is chaining 4 and then slip stitching as my very first thing that I'm doing for that row. And if yours doesn't align how mine does, you might just have to move it around, if you know what I'm saying. But then in your next stitch, you're going to do a single crochet, and then in the next stitch after that, you are, oops, I kind of messed up. You're going to actually slip stitch into the next. So you'll always have one single crochet in between the feet. And once you've done the slip stitch, you're going to chain 4 and then slip stitch into the same stitch. And now you have all your little feet. So cute, and you didn't have to sew anything on. So then you'll do single crochets all the way around till you get to the very end of the other side, and I'll show you what to do once you get to the next row. The first time that you do this, working around the little feet, it might be a little tricky, but once you get used to it, it's actually really, really easy. Now that we're at the very end of the row, remember to kind of stretch it out and see where your stitch is. So remember we started with the leg as the first stitch. So what we're going to do is slip stitch into that single crochet in between the feet to start our next round. So what you're going to want to do is push those feet towards you to kind of move it out of the way, and then slip stitch into that first single crochet in between the feet. And keep your tension pretty tight right here so you can close up that hole. Now in the next stitch, you are just going to do a single crochet. So you'll have 2 single crochets in between the feet this time. Then push that foot forward and go into the next stitch with a single crochet. And then finish all the way in the rest of the round with single crochets. Finishing up this round, you're going to slip stitch into your first stitch, and then you're going to chain 1 to start your next round. Now this is going to be your last round, and it's going to be a little different from the rest of the rounds, but this is how you're going to close up your hamster. So in the first stitch, you're going to do a single crochet. In the second, you'll do another single crochet. And then in the third stitch, you're going to do an invisible stitch. And this is where you just pull up the loop that's facing you of the next stitch and then go into the next one after that and do a single crochet. And this is kind of just making your rounds smaller, and it looks really neat when you do it this way. So you'll do 2 more single crochets and then another invisible stitch, and you'll just keep repeating that pattern till you get to the end of the round. If you're having trouble, just go to the settings of this video and play it slowed down so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Also, if you're not a beginner and you don't need every single step by step, you can also speed up this video and watch it in 2 times. So once you get to the end of that round, you're going to slip stitch and leave a little bit of space. I want to say I did probably 12, 13 inches of string, and then you're just going to cut it off. So now we're going to grab our stuffing. This is from Michael's. It's a really good price. I want to say it was 20 ounces for like $6. And then you're going to stuff your hamster. Stuff it to your liking. I like to do kind of a lot because I want him to look kind of chunky. Like, I like it when it's really, really stuffed, but also not too stuffed to where you can see the stuffing and it stretches out the stitches. So just enough to your liking. See how I feel like it's still like kind of skinny? I want him to be a little chunky. So just add a little bit more and squish him to your liking. So now we're going to take that string at the end and you're going to get your sewing needle and we're going to close up the hamster. If you're a beginner, this is how you close things up. Actually, this is how I close things up. I don't know if this is textbook, but basically go in the front loop only and just kind of weave in and out around the entire round. And once you went through the entire round, you're just going to pull it tight, kind of like a drawstring, and see how it just closes it up nice and beautifully. So with the rest of this string, I like to stick it up through the middle of the body and I use it to sew on the keychain. You can definitely try to loop your keychain through it, but I feel like it just looks much cleaner when you sew it on, so this part is optional. Then just cut off your extra string and there's the body. Now we're going to work on the ears. For one of the ears, I'm just using that extra string from sewing it on. You really don't need that much, but as you can see, I'm trying to show you where you would sew your ears on, and if you stick your hook up and through a loop, you can kind of see where the ear would land. And I like to do mine a little bit diagonal from the eye. That way it lays nicely and it's not like too close together. But then you're just going to chain 4 and then turn the body around and slip stitch where you first came in from. Once you slip stitch, that's all you do for the ears, so just pull your string out, and I like to tie it off and then just stick the rest of the pieces into the body. And then you're going to repeat the same thing on the other side, chain 4, slip stitch, and that's it. Now for the bow, you're going to take your pink yarn, and this is how you make a really small bow. Make sure you're using a really small needle. You can also use something like these beads, but I find that the crochet one just looks cuter. So to start the bow, you're going to do a magic circle, and then you're going to chain 2, and then do a double crochet into the magic circle. And that's your first side of the bow. Then you're going to slip stitch, chain 2 again, then do a double crochet and slip stitch again, and that's the end of your bow. So just cut off the extra string, make sure you leave a string long enough to sew the bow on, and then pull your magic ring tight. With the shorter piece of string, I like to use it as kind of an anchor to show where the bow is going to be. And then with the long piece, the way that I sew it on is I use that longer piece to kind of cinch the bow in the middle so that it kind of has more of a defined shape. And I just do that probably 3 times. I like to come in through the top of the first round and just do about 2 strings to make it look like a cute little nose. Then with the extra pieces, I just pull it out the other side and kind of make a knot to secure everything and then just stuff it back into the body. That's it for the tutorial. I hope your hamster turned out so cute. If you made any of these, please send me pictures. I want to see them. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel because I'm going to have some more crochet tutorials coming. So follow me on Instagram because I post a lot of the markets that I do, where I sell these, and any of the other projects I'm working on for the week. Also kind of lifestyle influencer girly things. Also follow my TikTok too. And let me know in the comments if there's any other crochet tutorials you would like. Bye! Thanks for watching!